10 things I got wrong planning and my retirement expectations. So let's jump right into this list. Number one, and I started off with non-financial things. I was under a lot of stress. I would have denied this. I would have laughed at you for saying I was under stress when I was working. I said I loved my job. I loved the pace. I loved the excitement, the challenges, the problem solving, working with people. But it was not until I was fully retired that I realized the pressures I was under. It was like dropping a 15-pound weight, seriously. 1 week vacations, even 2 week vacations that I took during my work career, they were a good reset, but didn't totally relieve me of the pressures of expectations, performing, getting results, keeping people safe, protecting the environment, things like that. Tremendous amount of stress. I'll be blunt and say you're lying to yourself if you don't think you're under stress. And then when you Google stress, the medical ramifications of being under stress, there's a lot of health issues associated with that, which is a good reason to retire. Off my soapbox for a second. Number two, it was very hard to slow down the pace of life that I was accustomed to. So I was used to getting 10, 15, 20 things done a day. You know, on a Saturday when I wasn't working, I'd just knock off a project list. And in retirement, everything slows down so much. And this is something I'm thankful for. But it was hard for me to adjust to slowing down. One thing on my list to do a day is plenty. Where when I retired, I thought I needed 5 things to do every day. I needed to have a full calendar. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to accomplish. This is who we're going to see. And retirement dramatically slows down, and it's been great. I think that runs hand in hand with stress. So jumping on to money matters, and I start with number 3 because this is the third thing that I got wrong in retirement. So number 3, I got expenses wrong. I didn't understand, never heard of the concept of base expenses like $5,000 a month just to live and exist and pay your bills, your trash bill, your electric bill, and taxes on your house. Say that's $5,000 a month. I never heard of the concept of go-go spending and slow-go spending, with go-go spending being, you know, I'm 60 now through 75, and then slow-go from 75 to 80, and then no-go spending after that. This makes a big difference in your retirement planning math. Okay, if you put in, hey, you know, instead of 5,000, hey, I'm going to be spending 9,000 a month, and you just project that just to be conservative till your mortality, say at 85 or 90, it's going to say you can't retire. But if you create a go-go window and a slow-go window, it has a dramatic impact because all inflation hits that. I mean, it is a major detractor to people retiring as early as possible. I got that wrong. I also missed my overall budget by 20%. I spent 20% lower than what my bottoms up, building my budget, I was 20% under. I'll leave another video. I've made videos on this on what made up that 20% I missed. I guess as a little teaser, medical insurance, I was able to get a lot cheaper than I expected. And my second car, I wasn't driving near as much. And so my gasoline and all that was cheaper than I expected. Just maintenance, tires, all that kind of stuff on that second vehicle. And then we cut the cable. Those were probably the big 3 that I went after. But there were probably 10 items. Good topic for another day. Number 4, this was a big deal. Maximizing returns is not the goal. Safety with good returns is the goal, not maximizing your returns. This was not the way I was trained for 35 years, right? You're trained to get the maximum return, stay in the market, dollar cost average, go, 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 go. And in retirement, it's all about hey, I want to protect, but I want to grow too. But protection is something that I really never thought about changing my investment mix that much, because I'm an aggressive investor. I'm aggressive. I took pride in being aggressive. Number 5, confidence to spend money is a big deal. Never had a problem spending money, was always frugal through my whole working life, childhood, working life. And despite having enough money to spend 4% or whatever your number is, 5%, it's hard to spend that money because is it gonna last? How long is it gonna last? So I had to come up with a system that I can that will help me with that confidence to spend money, and I've got videos on that. Basically, I have a budget. I review it once a quarter. I review my investments once a quarter. It's a whole discipline around that. But what's your discipline around getting confidence to spend? Number 6, there's no such thing as a perfect plan. People are always trying to, find that missing nugget to their plan. There's no perfect Monte Carlo score. Hey, you get 85, you can retire. 84, you're not close. No, there's no perfect score. Your plan is wrong. It's the planning that's important. I think that's a Dwight Eisenhower quote. At least I credit him to that. Knowing the levers, knowing that your plan blows up if you spend an extra $500 a month, knowing that 2% increase in inflation blows up your plan. Knowing that is priceless. Knowing that sequence of return risk could blow up your plan. So knowing those, and that's what I love about new retirement software. I can go in and make my plan fail. Say my expenses go up $750 a month through my mortality. It fails. What can I do about that? What can I do around other expenses? What can I do about rates of return? What can I do with go-go spending, for example, timing of Social Security? Can I change my tax strategy to help with that? What can I do? What are the levers? That's what's critical about knowing your plan intimately, and why I love new retirement software. New retirement. It's called Boldin. Sorry. It's called Boldin, and it's the first link you'll come to there in the show notes. Number 7, I'll be honest, I didn't even know what sequence of return risk was. I just used my spreadsheets. I had about 10 of them. I did not have Boldin at the time of my retirement decision. And it's so much easier just to flatline the inflation, I'm gonna put in 7% every year for 30 years of my retirement. It doesn't work that way. Sequence of return risk is, hey, when the year you retire, those first few years are very important to get a good return. If you get negative 10%, negative 20%, negative 30% your first, few years, and yet it still averages out to 7 over 20 years, will force you to run out of money, versus if those bad years come, say you had a good 20% first year, 22, 15, 17, your first few years, and then you had a string of low numbers, it will not have near the impact on your the growth of your nest egg, because you're drawing out money. Simple math I like to use for people is, say you decide on the 4% rule. You got $1 million, you decide on the 4% rule, you're going to draw out $40,000. Well, if the S&P 500 goes down by 50%, so now you have 500,000, taking out $40,000 is now an 8% withdrawal rate. That's what kills you. That's what hurts you, the sequence of return risk. Number 8, I ignored high inflation. I retired in 2019. We've been going a decade with low inflation. I really didn't have it as a factor, and it's a big factor. When you get 8-9% inflation, the inflation in the last 4 or 5 years has really hurt a lot of people's plans. And you just gotta focus on what you're gonna do about that. Good thing, if you look during that time period, being invested in stocks really helped offset that. If you were too safe with your fixed assets, you got eaten alive with inflation. Number 9, a black swan event like COVID. You hear about black swan events, you go, yeah, black swan events, got to be prepared for that. Well, we just had one. Another reason for having safety inside of your investment portfolio. And number 10, taxes. You know, I hear people say, yeah, you got to manage taxes. For 35 years of my career, I didn't have to think about taxes. They are something that happened to me, not something I planned for and took action to mitigate. In retirement, especially if you retire early, it is a big deal. It's a major deal, making sure your money is in the right location. What type of asset are you getting it into? Is it a Roth? Is it a traditional IRA? Is it in a brokerage account? You know, do you buy municipal bonds? You know, all these different things can help you manage your taxes. And it's probably 40%, 30% of what I focus on money-wise in retirement is keeping my taxes low. I didn't think that was going to be 2% when I retired. So those are 10 things I got wrong in my retirement. Hopefully they can help you on your journey, have a little more confidence, because you learn from my mistakes of what happened to me, what I learned after I retired. You have those before you retired. So if you got anything, you retirees, anything to add to this list of lessons you learned, get them started in the comments. There's gold in the comments, folks. If you're not reading them, you're making a mistake. This is Joe out.